Alright, hello all, welcome back to Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video here. So, we got to talk a little bit. Um, it's been several hours, and obviously, that reveal, it was, not the best. I don't know why the hell they would ever go back to doing active skill attacks for like transformations or fusions or whatever the hell. We clearly have not liked it when they've done it. Now I've seen this strawman argument that it's like, oh well, everyone likes Super Saiyan gods. It's like, well, they did release next to Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, and people did still complain about that at the time. It wasn't as severe. They did something in the past. They did things differently. They didn't have these sort of art reveals before. They revealed the character at the same time as the kid, so it wasn't like we had, time to deal with all. We didn't have time to be like, oh, that sucks ass, right? I mean, they did things differently. And the gods, I do think were handled greatly, especially because we had Gogeta Blue, and he was really good before that several times. So Vegito Blue, however, in Dokkan, has been relegated to EZAs that have all sucked in recent years. And then we had 2023. I mean, do we even need to talk about that? We know how that went. So anyone pretending that people aren't justified to be disappointed are wrong. I want to get that out of the way now. I suppose there's a 1% chance that we're all overreacting and it was just bad wording. But I did see that even Goresh went through the sort of Japanese video and did confirm that the wording they use there, it's not like a translation thing. They use the exact same type of wording. And it's like, with the 10th anniversary, they did show Vegito and Gogeta's arts, right, in that initial reveal. So I think it's kind of cope, and I'll take my big fat L if I'm wrong. I think it's kind of cope to think that we're getting these guys, as unfortunate as that is, as fusions. So, I'm really disappointed. I think they could still make me hype. We'll have to see exactly what is going to happen. But I mean, this is just a very bad way to start. And I said, if you go back and watch, before the actual video starting, I'm saying in there, future is such a bad idea right now. Sure, the 2023 was a fumble, right? But it's because 2023 was a fumble that it was such a bad idea. Because when you revisit future like this, you need to just lock all the way in. You have to. When you're revisiting future like this, after what fucking happened, you need to just go all out, right? You can't. Everyone was complaining about Vegito Blue, right? I mean, everyone was complaining about the naming issues with Zamasu, right? It overshadowed the entire celebration. It's the only thing people remember. No matter how good or bad you want to say the celebration was, the only thing they remember is the big issues they had with those Part 1 units. I had to cut briefly there. Okay. But, point being, the community has been in a bad spot the last couple of months or so, and it's only been getting worse, and I think it's just going to get worse. I think they fumbled completely. If you're hype, don't get me wrong, if you are hype, you have every right to be. If you want this, good for you, genuinely. I'm not bullshitting. If you're hype, that is a thing. A game is meant to be enjoyed, and we're all allowed to have, our own separate opinions about it, right? It's anyone who's telling those that are hyped that they shouldn't be is dumb. Anyone telling those that aren't hyped that they should be is dumb, right? People are allowed to have their own opinions. So I mean, if you're hyped for this, I genuinely, congrats. You know, I'm happy for you. I'm very disappointed. Now that all being said, it's just I really hope that they nail the animations and kits, because they have to. These characters have to be like Super Vegito level. Just both of them. Like I think that's the only thing at this point that's going to be able to help us recover. But I guess we'll see. I mean, that's in like 3 or so days at this point. So we're still a while off, and the Dokkan community is going to eat itself alive in the meanwhile. I don't know why. If you watch, I mean, I have the video pulled up. They're like, think of LR, Kayla, and Khalifa. It's like, bro, nobody liked them. What do you mean think of them? No, don't ever think of them again. So I wanted to. I've seen discussion on what part 2 is going to be, and I'm by no means Nostradamus. I don't have my crystal ball, right? But I do have the video pulled up, and I want to go over some sections of it, and to explain my reasoning of why I think what part 2 is going to be, and why I think we're going to be in for a hell of a long month and a half celebration. The Dokkan community will eat itself alive. I think so. And I don't know why they chose to do this right now. This was such a bad time to do this celebration. It should have been next year. So now here we go. Let's jump in, and let's start with the video. I do have vaguely part 1, part 2 content pulled up. I'm not really sure exactly what they're gonna do for part 3. If you look at part 3 in the past, I mean, we got 2023. That's where we got Int Rose. 2024. I mean, we got Gogeta and Janemba. They tend to just bounce around with the sort of part 3 for this celebration spot. So I don't have necessarily anything pulled up for part 3. I think some of the stuff I have pulled up could be part 3 stuff, but what I'm thinking of is part 1 right now and part 2, and I do have it organized in that sort of way from the units I've pulled up. Now let's start with the video here real quick. So firstly, we need to talk about this event. This event is not okay. Hold on. Let's.
Through reversible exchange,
that's a lot.
they can exchange as many times as possible in battle.
Okay.
We plan to add
stages
sequentially after part 1 of the campaign has begun, so please be sure to check out the enemy's characteristics and plan your strategies accordingly.
Okay, so they have a whole long-ass section about this event, right? They're talking, and they're talking, and they're talking.
Battle.
This seems like it's going to be one of
just like reversible exchange will allow the
main
events to switch multiple times.
For the celebration.
Launched on June 29th, the enemy...
I could be wrong, but it does seem like they really are making this seem like a very big part of the celebration. And then if we go to the sort of theme here, breaking through. Now, it is important to note they do try to stick to this. They don't, it's not like foolproof, right? I mean, they'll stretch it however far they want. But let's just listen to the theme description real quick.
It represents the harsh fight of warriors who fought to break through the future by confronting a powerful force. We are preparing tons of in-game events where players too will fight powerful enemies and break through. I bet you are daring to...
Okay, so that being said, right, let's just think about this. They really seem to like the reversible exchange mechanic. I think it's really cool. I mean, we have Kel and Khalifa now, right? They seem really excited about that. They even tell you whatever, I forget what point it is, but they even say think Kale and Khalifa, right? They really love this mechanic. They think it's a really good mechanic, right? And it is, but they're essentially, it seems like they're betting all of their, all chips in on just the mechanic itself. And it seems like the big part, at least to me, that they want to sell of this celebration is the reversible exchange mechanic. Considering the event and considering the theme, I think part 2 is going to be these guys. Oh wait, where are they? There we go. These guys. I think it's going to be new versions of these guys. I think it's going to be Tag Gohan Future, Trunks Kid, and Tag 17 and 18. Because just think about it. Like, let's say... I could be very well wrong, but like... If they're trying to sell the sort of... the event where you're fighting enemies who reversible exchange... They're talking about breaking through in a fight that changed the future, or destiny, whatever. You know, confronting formidable foes. Under the presumption, I suppose, that Part 2 also includes an extreme character. And it does seem that way, because we have 4 characters, and it's about heroes who are fighting to break... Like, we get the point. What other villain fits a reversible exchange mechanic? Let's think. Saiyan Saga, no. Namek Saga, no. Majin Buu Saga, no. Beerus arc, no. ROF, no. U6 vs U7, no. Future, there we have it. Tournament of Power, no. Broly movie, obviously, no. Superhero movie, no. Well, the Gammas. The Gammas could be it, technically, I suppose. But that's... I think that's... I mean, they definitely stretch things, but I don't think it's going to be... I'd be very surprised if it's, like, Superhero Part 2. I mean, I guess it could be, but I don't think so. The only thing you can think of, like, characters that make sense for a tag like this, would be 17 and 18. And Gohan and Trunks. Now, by no means am I saying, this is my perfect global Dokkan campaign. No. No, I'm not saying that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying that I want the celebration to be bad either. I'm not saying either of those things. I'm not saying I want this, and I'm not saying I want it to be bad. This isn't... I am disappointed from the reveal, but I'm not trying to craft the most ass celebration ever. Don't get me wrong. That's not what's happening here. I'm trying to take a realistic glance at everything we know and put it together to what I think is going to be the celebration. Now, I may very well be wrong. However, I may also very well be right. So, either way, I wanted to get this out now before we know more. And, you know, if I'm wrong, I can get clowned on, whatever the hell, I don't care. If I'm right, just, you know, like I said, I think the Dokkan community is going to be in for a long month and a half or so. So, I mean, now that I've showed what I think the Part 2 characters are, let me just go over, you know, some of the content I expect. Now, very notably, based off how they did this reveal, by the way.
To guess which Future's character, the climax of the Global Dokkan
they say
campaign
Part 1 will be from the
2025,
climax of the Future Trunks
the
Saga.
climax of Dragon Ball Super
Here, where...
the Future. Super Saiyan confronts Thanos.
So,
characters can perform
reversible exchange.
Revenge of Super Saiyan 2 Caulifla.
That's so funny.
Super Saiyan 2 Kale, who appeared.
But with this sort of, you know, celebration here, I do think, I mean, obviously, starting out with Part 1, I mean, we have these guys, right? I mean, we know... I wanted to say, from what we know so far, and this may very well be wrong, but I think that... Because if you look at, like, the 10th anniversary, right? I mean, they make sure to point out in there, you know, who's a carnival and who's a Dokkan Fest, right? And even like 9th anniversary, I'm pretty sure like it wasn't like special because of 10th anniversary. Like if you look at 9th anniversary, I'm pretty sure, I could be misremembering, I'm pretty sure they pointed out in the sort of initial reveal that Broly was the Dokkan Fest and Gogeta was the Carnival. So they really like to point those things out. If you go through that entire video, which is sort of what I was trying to accomplish here, just skipping through, they don't mention Dokkan Fest or Carnival. They're not doing Double Carnival Part 1. So to me, it tells me that this is Double Dokkan Fest Part 1. I could be wrong, mind you, but I think it's going to be Double Dokkan Fest Part 1 with the androids and Gohan Trunks being carnivals for Part 2. So, that being said, obviously this is our Part 1, one of our Part 1 headliners, without Vegito. And this is the moment that the Rose and Zamasu are from as well. So, we know, I mean, these guys, I mean, we don't know what they do yet. I really think they could still make me hyped, once again, through animations, through Kit. Especially for these guys, if them being like a Dokkan Fest, they could be a really good lead for villains. Oh, also, I don't have pulled up, you know, I suppose this, probably, that actually makes a lot of sense for Part 3. They do tend to bounce around with Part 3. And just real quick, this may very well be like a bad call, but I do think that what we can expect here is if we just go down. Oh, okay, there's the ads. Okay. Alright, movie hero, movie bosses. I genuinely think these guys, this Goku Vegeta, then we have Birdku, right? Then we have, over here, we do have Final Form Cooler, Metal Cooler. If I had to guess, I think that's what Part 3 will probably be. I think they're going to start easying those characters in this time slot. Like I said, they do try to make things, they do tend to bounce around with the Part 3. And I think they're going to start easying those sort of worldwide LRs in this slot, since it is supposed to be an anniversary size celebration. And, you know, you take a look at the actual anniversary. They've been, you know, since the 7th anniversary, easying like 3 years back, the LRs. So I don't see why they wouldn't do the same for worldwide. I would expect the Cooler movie, all that stuff to be right here. I could be wrong, but that's what I would expect for Part 3. So obviously these guys are the Part 1. I think this specific card could see a Super EZA. I would not anticipate an EZA for these guys. I'm telling you that right now. It's always a pattern until it isn't. But until they break it, as far as we know, this has, you know, it's 2023. So as far as we know, you know, they, up until anniversary, they don't start EZAing from the next year. So I would say that these guys write them off. If I had to guess, I'd say maybe like Tanabata next year. We're gonna get standalone VGW, standalone Carnival, Fusamasu. Like that's all I can think of for how they'll get these EZAs in. I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see, but it feels really weird that they're doing what they're doing now. I don't really get it, but I mean, it is what it is. So, I did want to cover now. I mean, once again, I have several characters pulled up. These are what I think are going to be the sort of EZA, Super EZAs for Part 1 and Part 2. So, I mean, let's go over these. So, obviously, this guy is going to EZA. And who came out with him? These guys. I mean, they're both very obvious EZAs here. I would probably think both of them would be Part 1. That I could be wrong. I mean, they do tend to save like Dokkan Fest LRs until later in the celebration. So I may very well, this might be like a Part 3 sort of thing. But I do think that, at least to me, getting both these guys in Part 1, especially considering if you look at the video here, you know, when we see the art, Trunks is in the background. Come on, where is it? There we go. Trunks is in the background of Vegeta. It does say launch a powerful attack with Trunks. I mean, to me, the thing that stands out about Trunks from with Vegeta in regards to it, from the Future Saga is that sort of Galacon, father-son Galacon. So to me, it does make sense that what they're going to do is easy these guys in part 1 along with Fusamas. So I mean, these are very obvious. They're going to happen. I think it's going to be part 1. I mean, we'll see. Now, I do also think that for Super EZAs, I mean, once again, a lot of this stuff I feel like is pretty obvious, but I just, you know, I got motivated to make this video because I'm seeing like people go, "Oh, Daima, save us, part 2," and I make sure to say in these videos often, if you do watch, I think whether or not I do a good job of it, you know, I don't know, but I do like to try and temper expectations, and I fell for my own trap, sort of. You know, I've been saying these last couple months, you know, it's you hype yourself up way too much for something you think is guaranteed to happen, it doesn't, and then it just leads to a vast amount of disappointment. So you should, you know, if you have a personal choice you prefer, I mean, that's great, but you shouldn't, you know, all in on one thing. Now, to be fair, at least for my part, when they're revisiting Future like this, everyone thinks they're doing Vegeta Blue and Fusamasu. It's not, like, it's kind of just Dokkan's fault for not nailing it, not going all out. I don't know why they didn't, but it's kind of just Dokkan's fault, honestly. If this was any other sort of thing, I'd be like, you know what, fair enough. But I think this is Dokkan's fault. I don't accept responsibility. I genuinely think they're the ones at fault here. If it was, you know, I was saying forever, I thought it was going to be Namek ROF, and then, you know, I thought secondly it could be Daima. When it did look like it wasn't going to be Namek ROF, I was disappointed. But, you know, I was like, fair enough. You know, Daima could be cool too. I'm disappointed, but it is what it is. Then when it was confirmed to be Future instead of Daima, you know, I was like, fair enough. You know, I did originally think Daima was going to be Tanabata and 11th anniversary anyway. Sucks, but I mean, this is what I initially expected. Then we have the reveal today, and this is where I draw the line. It's like, okay, well, you know, that's just on you, right? You should have done Vegeta Blue and Fusamasu. But I just, the point of this is I do want to try and temper expectations. Once again, I'm not trying to be, this isn't in the light of my disappointment that I'm not trying to craft the perfect celebration for me. I'm not trying to craft the worst celebration possible. What I'm trying to craft here is just looking at all the potential EZAs, Super EZAs, knowing all the information they've given us so far, and like sort of dissecting it to make the most realistic celebration possible. But all that out of the way, obviously with this guy, Super EZAing would be Vegeta Blue. Now what really sucks is they could change this. But I mean, we saw with like Gogeta, for example. Gogeta was part of part 1, wasn't he? I think he was, of 10th anniversary. He didn't get his sprite change until the new LR came out. So even if this guy Super EZAs, I don't think he'll have a new sprite until we get a new Vegeta Blue, which is why I think they're not going to wait too long from this celebration to get our Vegeta Blue. I think by the end of 2026 we will have a new Vegeta Blue and Fusamasu. I think it's really stupid they're not doing them right here, right now, but I think that's what they'll do. I mean, we'll see, but and how they could probably honestly do like, you know, a split celebration with Gogeta Blue and Broly again or some bullshit, right? for, like next global Dokkan campaign. So I do think these are going to be the two super EZAs. Then I do also think that they'll probably try and slip in these guys. They have shown that they will super EZA LRs. I'm less confident about this guy specifically. I think there's a chance, but I think they might save him. So I mean, we could honestly X him out. But I think there's a chance, so I'm not going to. I'm gonna say he's gonna be here, but I'm not like entirely convinced of that. The rest of these I am pretty confident in. This guy specifically, it's like he could happen. I think they're more so gonna lean into this guy. It does seem like they're trying to aim for the earlier part of the celebration here, or the Future Trunks arc. I think it's just because they don't have like either like fusion other than like as an attack, one attack. I do genuinely think they're going to have another future celebration at some point within the next year and a half, something like that. But this guy, I mean, we take a look at like the Super Saiyan Goku. They super EZA'd him. This guy EZA'd unreleased during the 5th anniversary. I mean, 11 days later, right? So I think this guy makes up for a perfect super EZA here. Free to play, obviously. And I mean, he fits the theme obviously very well. I genuinely think they're going to try and just build up a lot of the like Goku Black Zamasus here. I don't know. I'm so disappointed by what they chose to do. But I think they can still make it pretty hype. Because I mean, once again, I mean, if we look, these guys, we'll see. I think Super EZA could come to these guys. I'm not gonna lock that in, but I think it's possible. But EZAs for these two, hype as hell. Super EZAs for these two, hype as hell. Then Super EZA for this guy, maybe this guy, pretty cool. Then we go over here. Now that once again, I think this is gonna be the part 2. But also I would say that specifically this card and this card should both also EZA during part 2. So I think these moments are going to be remade as tag characters. But I also think that these cards are going to EZA. They're both in line, and it makes too much sense with what we know so far. Now, on that note, I do think, while this doesn't fit as much as Rose and Goku Black, I do think probably these guys make good, perfect sense for. I mean, honestly, you could even swap like Rose and like Vegeta Blue. These guys could very easily be the part 1. So if you take a look over at the future category here, I mean, we just scroll down, right? And like these guys are all like very early on and all in line for super EZAs. I mean, even look at this guy. I mean, he's literally the next Dokkan Fest before these guys. So I think these guys are like guaranteed super EZAs. I also think these guys are guaranteed super EZAs. I think because these guys came first, they're going to do them in part 1 and these guys in part 2. Plus, with there being a Trunks in part 2, I do think that they're going to do him then, if that makes any sense. Also, do keep in mind, not that this applies so much, I suppose, for they themselves, but I do think another card that we could see EZA very soon is Majin Vegeta, the Saiyan Day 2022 character. I don't think he's going to EZA this celebration, but he really does need a Trunks ally. And I think they're going to try and build up Trunks right before releasing him. I do think he could probably EZA very soon, right after this celebration even. It did look like we might get like a Vegeta Kid Dokkan Fest after the celebration. They could probably just like EZA him there or something. But I think they're going to super EZA these two part 2. These two. And then I think we'll also maybe get a super EZA for this guy. I don't want to lock in fully on these yellow coin allies, but I think both of them are definitely really possible. And finally, obviously, this guy, I mean, there's no way they don't EZA him. I mean, it's just how he released, and like his base was stronger than Super Saiyan, and then he like aged out immediately. Like, it was so unfortunate. I think they're gonna try and bring this guy back. And what better than a future campaign with all of the Trunkses and the Gohans and all this stuff, right? So I just wanted to make this real quick. I don't have obviously any idea for events, right? I mean, who knows what the free to play cards will be? Who knows? I think I could make honestly like a banner prediction sort of video. But I'll probably wait a couple of days for that at least. I think this is what we can expect for the main content of the celebration. This is my sort of in my theory I'm pushing forward. I'm not saying I necessarily want this, or that I'm not saying I want the celebration to be bad. I think a lot of people are going to be unhappy with this. I think justly. I think I am going to be unhappy if this is. I mean, we'll see what they do with the kits and animations and such, but I think all of this stuff could be cool, but it's really going to be overshadowed by no Vegito Blue, no Fuse Zamasu. But I mean, I'm definitely going in disappointed, and I mean, it's like a really bad idea of them to like start out a celebration with knowing all these people are disappointed. Like, they're just shooting themselves in the foot for no reason. So essentially, though, this is what I think is coming. We'll see if it does or not, but I'm very confident that this is what we're gonna see. But that all being said, I think that about wraps us up. I did just want to propose what I think the Part 2 LRs are going to be, the EZA, Super EZAs we're going to see. But besides that, obviously, like, I don't know if we're getting, like, Supreme Magnificent Battle, Red Zone, all that stuff. Like, I have no idea. But I did want to just throw out what I think, based off what they've told us so far. And once again, Part 2 could be something entirely different, but this is all based off of what they've told us so far. And they really seem to be wanting to sell the reversible exchange mechanic this celebration. So, like, it doesn't make sense to me if they're putting such a huge emphasis on this mechanic. And then Part 2, like, let's say Part 2's Daima. They're not. There's no reversible exchange there. There's Goma and Mini, like Goku. Like, there's no reversible exchange, right? So I'm not gonna say it's impossible for Daima Part 2, but I think this is much more likely right now from everything we know than like anything else. I genuinely think that this is what we'll see. But we'll have to see. But I think that about wraps this up. Let me know what you guys think below. I'm like I said, I think we're going to be in for a very long month and a half. I think they very easily could get me hyped, especially with how well of a kit Goku, Black, and Zamasu may or may not have. I really like villain characters. I think they could get me really hyped, but I'm not going to pretend I'm not disappointed. But we'll have to see. At the end of the day, we'll have to see. So I think we'll end this here though. Let me know what you guys are thinking. As I did in the sort of my initial reaction to the reveal, I was laughing a bunch and saying we'll see a bunch, and I genuinely we'll see. That's the best I got. I think they could cook, but it's like they're gonna have such a hard time coming back from where they started that I don't know why they're doing this. But on this here, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Take care.